Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Stephen Fox. Foxy, man, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Shout out to the 1973 championship Knicks team.
Yes,
I
sir.
can't wait to talk New York Knicks basketball. Woo! We got a dangerous team, folks. How are you, my friend?
Definitely. I'm doing great, man. We're in the middle of a 5-game win streak. I couldn't be more excited than I am about this team right now. Happy to be here to talk to you. Happy to be here to talk to the chat. We've got a lot of things to get into. Right before we started this live stream, the Knicks have now pulled into a virtual tie for the 5th seed. So salute to the Knicks. Hopefully we can continue to power through, and maybe we can get up to that 4th seed and definitely, be one of those teams that other teams are going to have to worry about come playoff time.
No doubt. As I said, we're dangerous. We're going to get into more details, folks, but we are peaking at the right time. Everyone is Mitch is back. Josh is 5 games here now, and just everything's looking up. I just love the basketball we're playing, man.
Like you said, Foxy, we're peaking at the right time. We've got, a new addition in Josh Hart, who has been balling for us. And even in games when he's not knocking down his shots and things like that, he's giving it up in terms of energy. And I think the team is really vibing off of that. So I'm extremely excited with what I've seen so far from our New York Knicks. And we've got a jam-packed show. Want to give a shout out to people we have in chat. We've got Il Matrix, salute. Thank you for tuning in. Trish D, appreciate you tuning in. JJ, Buzzer Beater, Foxy, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
The Soul Train, hope all is well. Soul Train 68, like you said, our guy JJ and Illmatics, man. Day one, old time friend. Really appreciate you stopping by. Hope all is well with you and your family. David Smith, Frank Matos. We can't wait to chop it up, hear your thoughts, your questions. And as Keith always says, you're the third host of the show.
Yep. Give a shout out to David Smith. He says Knicks looking very good, exciting basketball. Josh Hart was a very good acquisition. Definitely, I'm liking what I've seen from him so far, and what we've done with the acquisition of Josh Hart is we've kind of upped the intensity on the squad, because now your minutes aren't guaranteed. If you're not giving it, night in and night out, there is a potential opportunity for a guy like Hart to come in and eat some of the minutes and close for this team. So with him being on this squad, it ups the intensity, and I think that's just going to be better for us in the long haul.
Yeah, it's a dream for Tibbs, all this leverage now, like you said, especially at that 2 position. Or the wing position, as today, that who's not there today, who's not playing well. I'll try this guy out. I'll try that guy out. I'll try this combination. I'll try that combination. So Tibbs, got to give that guy flowers, man. He's shocked the hell out of me so much so far this season. So nothing. I have nothing to say about Tibbs tonight, folks.
Yeah, I've had my gripes with Tips throughout the season, even before this season. So to see him do what he's been able to do with this team, I got to give him his props. And hopefully he'll be able to carry this level of success into the playoffs. I think that's where we're really going to see this team be tested. And I think we have the roster put together to be competitive come playoff games. We can play defense. We can lock up. That's our bread and butter. We'll show you some slides today that'll, prove that this team is going to go as far as this defense takes them. And with the way Tips coaches, he's known to be a defensive coach. I think the only weakness this team has is our 3-point defense. And we saw some of that in the game against the Wizards in that first quarter. They were able to put up shots in bunches and knock down a boatload of threes. But like Julius Randle said in the post-game interview, they changed up some of their coverages, and they tried to get up in, KP's airspace, so that way he wasn't able to, shoot uncontested threes. And once we were able to do that, this team definitely was able to, cut into that lead and find a way to win that game. So things are looking up for this New York Knicks team, and we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. I think he was going off in that first quarter, KP, and I don't think he had a basket until the fourth quarter after that. So they shut his ass down. Him hobbling didn't hurt us either. But
that too.
yeah. But the D and us making in-game adjustments. That's what we want to see. So great to the Knicks. Great for Tibbs, man. Nothing but flowers.
Yep. And talking about the landscape, I've got the updated standings here for you guys to take a look at. And as I mentioned earlier, the Knicks are now in a virtual tie for the fifth seed. We've tied with the Brooklyn Nets, who lost today against the Atlanta Hawks, another team that's going through some turmoil and some rocky times. I made a video discussing some of the issues they've been going through. Make sure you guys check that out when you get a chance. And if we can continue to play like this, I would say the fourth seed is not isn't too much of a long shot. We're only 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're trending in the wrong direction right now. Things are looking a little bit shaky for them. And if we continue to play the type of basketball we're playing right now, where we're playing, hard-nosed defense, and we're, moving the ball a little bit better and not relying so much on ISO, then I think this team could definitely be in a position where we get home court advantage in that first round.
No doubt that, and just things that we keep seeing. Whether it was a couple of games ago, Brunson's doing an interview after a win with Rebecca, and Julius comes and plays around playfully, and like, yo, it's like a different team. IQ last night off the backboard for Randle for the dunk, and the way he's fooling around with the guys, it's like, wow, the Brunson effect, the Josh Hart effect. These guys are coming together like nothing's more dangerous than a team that's enjoying themselves playing, where they know it's a business, but all of a sudden it's become that fun game that they always loved. And you see Julius smiling, man. Just a real quick shout out for Julius. Hey folks, I don't, you've heard us have issues with Julius and whether he's a piece of this foundation. This is an all NBA guy this year. The last two games, if you have any question about how dominant and how talented of a player he is, it should be put to rest, because just absolute dominance. The first half against Washington, and just yesterday, he's on a roll, but he's playing in a way, he's picking up his defense, and it's amazing what the power of a smile and feeling wanted is doing, his interviews and everything. So it's resurrection before our eyes, man. So, Julius, I'm so happy for you. We're proud of you. Congratulations to you and your family. Just keep doing what you're doing, playing team basketball. That's all we've ever asked.
Yep, and me personally, I'm a sucker for, heartfelt moments. And I really liked seeing what the team was able to do for a guy like Derrick Rose, who's been the consummate professional, and Julius Randle being one of the leaders of the team. He was, at the forefront, trying to get Derrick Rose some
Egging on
minutes
the
in that
crowd.
game, egging on the crowd and things like that. So to see Julius Randle do things like that, you just have to be proud of him, as a fan of the team. You want to see the guys out there having fun and enjoying themselves. So to see Julius Randle doing that, to see the camaraderie that this team is building, I think is definitely very encouraging for Knicks fans, and it's a very promising future. I was on Instagram talking with Jesco, one of the subscribers, and he mentioned it. He said the front office has done an amazing job. I wouldn't go as far as saying amazing until we're able to see them have some postseason success. But when you look at what this team has done, for the most part, our core is locked up, outside of Hart, who we're going to have to, either re-sign this offseason or find another way to keep him. And, all our young guys are on reasonable contracts. We don't have to really get into a position where we're forced, or our hands are forced on what to do with them, outside of Obi, who will probably have to, reassess his role on the team this offseason. But for the most part, all our core guys are locked up and playing, some of their best basketball. So as a Knicks fan, you got to be thrilled.
You have to be thrilled. And again, for the Derrick Rose thing, shout out to Tibbs. I know it's a tough thing. You don't want to be disrespectful for him, bringing him up in, a Hall of Fame guy, bringing him in garbage time. The crowd's doing it. He had a smile on his face, so he said, all right, let's go for it. So seeing those types of things from Tibbs, a human side of him rather than just yelling and stuff like that, everyone's getting into it, man. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'd never think that with 20 games to go, I was going to be this excited. Like, yo, this is a seriously dangerous team.
Facts. And this is an important part of the schedule too, because we're talking about how well the Knicks are playing, but statistically we do have a tough road ahead of us. And I saw a comment, let me see, from El Maddox, says this is a big week coming up, and that's facts, because you look at the teams that we have to play this week. We got to play Boston. They're ahead of us in the standings. We've got to play Brooklyn. They're tied with us in the standings, statistically, or at least close enough to a tie. Miami, they're a team that's behind us. We can put some space or some distance between us and them. And then we play Boston again. So if the Knicks can go out there, I'm not saying we're going to win all four of those games, but if we can go 3-1, this team is going to be putting themselves in a position where we can rock it up this the conference standings. And if we are in a position where we can get some home court advantage, you look at what the stats are or what our record is at home and on the road. Remember, at one point in time, we had a terrible home record, and now you look at it with 2 games. We've got 2 more wins, 17 and 15 at home, and then we're 18 and 12 away. So regardless of where we end up, if we're going to be on the road or at home, I have a lot of confidence that this team will be able to pull out a W, especially with the way we lock up and play defense. Defense travels. Sometimes your shot can falter, but defense is one of those things that travel.
Yeah, that's poetry, man. Exactly, and that's right music to Tibbs' ears. So with Mitch coming back, and this is good. The good part about it, folks, is you can see if you watch the games closely, he's out of shape. So we want Mitch to get in shape over the next few weeks leading into the playoffs. And but I think that and iHart's playing the best basketball since he's come to the Knicks. So everyone's gelling, and like we said, the impact of Josh Hart on everyone.
I mean, it's unfortunate that Mitch went down, but I think that might have been a blessing in disguise, because it forced us to elevate iHeart and play him more minutes. And now he's gotten into a groove. So now with the addition of Mitchell Robinson, he's playing, he's showing why he can be so dominant in the paint. And you have iHeart, who's playing well, and he's starting to carry over some of that solid play from when he was, asked to do a lot more. This team, you look top to bottom, there's a lot of versatility and there's a lot of depth. And that's something that it looks like Tibbs is a lot more open to go into and to using in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, and the minutes that Jericho Sims got is, priceless for the development, for his development. So, like you said, you have to, when you get lemons, make some lemonade. So they did some really powerful things when, the injuries happened. And now, we said, he has more leverage at multiple positions now.
Yeah, but we currently have 67 in chat. We got 20 likes already. Thank you guys for the support. If you haven't hit that like button, now would be a great time to do so. We try to get to that 100 method, and we're already a fifth of the way there. So if you're liking what we're providing here during the live stream, make sure you smash that like button.
Did I hear a fifth?
Oh, man. All right, let's see what we got going on in chat. Give a shout out to Trish D. She says, agree, Queese. I can't even say my own name correctly.
Think you have the fifth and you ain't sharing.
Right? Agree, Keith. iHeart much better now because of the time he's been seeing. Stan Man says the 4th seed is ours. Yep, we can go. We can get it. And if we are going to go and try and grab that 4th seed, I said it earlier or a little while ago, it's going to be off the back of our defense. So right now, the Knicks are 26-1 when we hold opponents under 110 points. And we've been locking up so far. So if we can continue to do that, this team is going to find themselves in a position where we can win. You look at the last few games. New Orleans, we held them to 106 points, W. Washington, 109 points, W. Atlanta, 101 points, W. Brooklyn, 106 points, W. The only anomaly in that stretch is Utah, and we still won the game and they scored 120. But if you look, in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in the last 7 of our 8 last games, we've held teams under 110 points. And that's why you're seeing this team be so good. If we can continue to lock up, we've got 2 guys that can get us a bucket if we need to, in Jalen Brunson and also Julius Randle. So defensively, I think that's going to be the biggest area that we have to focus on moving forward. And now with the addition of Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart now on this squad, we're going to be locking teams up.
Yeah. As an analyst and into statistics, folks, 27 games, that's a big sample. So it's not an isolated data point. That's a trend. So now we know if our Knicks with Josh and with Mitch and everybody else talking, and RJ, shout out to RJ. He's played a couple of good games on the defensive side. Again, Flowers, just being fair. So if everyone does their thing, talk it up, on the defensive side, communicate, play physical, get around those screens, communicate, get those tough rebounds. That 26-1 will be 27-1, 28-1. So yeah, we're going to hit those 3-pointers, play that defense. Yo, watch it. We got a scary team, folks.
Yep, we can get hot. I mean, we saw it last year with the Dallas Mavericks in our stream last Sunday. If you haven't checked it out, now would be, not now, but after the stream, you can go check it out. We talked about what the Dallas Mavericks did in their run to the Western Conference Finals. It was all about their defense, them stepping it up, and them clicking in the later half of that season. And we're seeing a lot of the same things with this team. So if we can kind of, replicate the success we're seeing here towards the end of the regular season and apply it in the postseason, then we can easily go on a run. I'm not sitting here and going crazy and saying we could be a championship contender or we could find ourselves in the finals. But I think if you look at other teams, if you look at the teams above us, they're probably looking and saying, all right, the Knicks are one of those teams we don't want to see come playoff time. And once you have that seed in a team's head, it makes you that more dangerous when you face them in a 7-game series.
No doubt. Hey, we have a super chat from the one and only Parish Duggar.
Salute to Paris Duggar. Thank you for the support. It says, you got to believe there's been added input by staff or added advisors to get Tibbs to allow staff to help with in-game strategies, his dramatic change. And hopefully he is listening to some of his assistants. Foxy, you mentioned it. He's been doing things and with his rotations and his substitution patterns that aren't,
an anomaly for him. Like,
whoa. Pretty much,
yep. Yeah, like what is Tibbs doing that? Yo.
Mm-hmm. And you would assume that that's him reaching out to some of the other guys on the coaching staff, whether it be a Johnny Bryant or things like that, and getting some input and applying that in the game. So hopefully he is leading on the other members of his coaching staff, because we've got some talented coaches on the roster. And I think Tibbs, with his ability to coach up defense, will definitely be in a good position moving forward.
No doubt. And Parrish, thanks again for your generosity. One of the coolest guys known for several years now. So thank you. We really appreciate it. And we have another great person from both the chat and chopping it up in the comments. Buzzer Beater has a wonderfully generous super chat also.
Yep, thank you for the support, Buzzer Beater. It says 2 win-win games today: Nets, Hawks, Cavs, Raptors. If Hawks and or Raptors win, it pushes us up the ranks. If the Nets and or Cavs win, it creates distance for the two teams trying to catch us. Agree? Yeah, I would agree. Let me go back to the standings. That way everybody can follow along. So he says win-win games today. Nets, Hawks. So the Nets lost. That caused them to fall a little bit lower in the standings and now tie with us in the 5th seed. And then you've got Cavs, Raptors. I think they're still playing, if I'm not mistaken. No, or did I go final?
Don't know.
Yeah, so if the Cavs win, that'll put a little bit more space between us and Toronto. And if the Cavs lose, then that'll put us, what would that put us? That put us 2 games behind the Cavaliers in terms of us chasing for the 4th seed. So that was definitely a good observation, Buzzer Beater. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Yep, great observation. And I think the mentality of this team, I don't think we're looking back. We're looking ahead, man. And I love that toughness, man. Whatever, who's bringing it, and folks, great thumbnail, by the way. Kudos to my guy Keys. I love that thumbnail. We got a bunch of dogs. Randall, if anybody doesn't think he's a dog, then you ain't watching the game. So we got a bunch of dogs on this team that's about to be unleashed.
Yep, we are out there bullying teams. You heard it from the coach of the Wizards. He said we're a physical team, and coming into the game, teams know that, we're going to be playing as close to 90s era basketball as you're going to see in the league. And I think a lot of teams are going to fold up. Yes, it's the later half of the season and teams are playing for a lot. But, I don't think they want to go up against us, honestly.
You've got Pelicans looked soft yesterday, man.
Super soft. And you got Julius Randle. He's a bully. We call him a bull in the China shop all the time. Josh Hart, he's going to be physical. Same thing with Quentin Grimes. Brunson, he's physical, and he's also going to get in your way and impede your path to the basket and get a lot of offensive fouls called. So this team, there's a lot of positives, and of course there's things for us to work on, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. But we're starting off from a very good point, and beginning it and earlier on in the season, things looked a little bit shaky. But once this team started to build a little bit more chemistry, we started to see that these guys like playing with each other, and even though at times some of the time it might look like their games don't mesh, they're finding ways to play with each other. So that's something that you got to give kudos to them for. They're putting the effort into the time in.
Facts.
Quiet Money says salute to the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. We're up over 100 already in chat. Got 33 likes. Do us a solid. Smash that like button. We greatly appreciate it.
Hey, Quiet Money. I hope all is well with you and your family. Just quick shout out to Carlos Delgado, Hector Gaston, Nick Yak, Capo 1291, Jesco, the one and only Jesco. We already talked about Buzzer Beater. Thanks again, Efrain Lopez. We said David Smith, Carlos Delgado again, Adele Chapman. Hope all is well with you and the family. Give Avery a hug from us. Jigaman Porto. Hey, shout out my friend. Trish D again. Shout out everyone.
Yep, Jesco says he wouldn't be surprised if Randle ends up getting MVP points, MVP vote at this point. Well, remember he got an MVP vote 2 years ago when he was going crazy, and I think he's having a better year statistically this year. 3-point percentages than what we saw 2 years ago, but everything else, all the numbers are up. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets some MVP votes. I wouldn't be shocked if Jalen Brunson gets some MVP votes with the way he's been playing, and the way he's been playing in the clutch, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Hey, I got George is in the chat. Salute. Make sure you guys are subscribed to George. Got your great content. He's got post-game live streams and uploads, so make sure you're tuned in.
Yeah, he had a great live stream last night. Shout out to our guy, George.
Yep, salute. And we're talking about dogs. One that has really brought a lot of intensity to this team once he was brought in is Josh Hart. And the Knicks are now 5-0 in the Josh Hart era. And I mentioned the games that we won a little bit earlier. We beat the Jazz, Brooklyn, Hawks, Washington, and the Pelicans. And 4 of those 5 teams are teams that are actually playing for something. So it's not like we're going out there and we're beating the bottom of the barrel. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got one of the toughest schedules. So the wins that we have to end this season are going to be high quality wins against teams that are playing for something. So the fact that we're 5-0 shows that something is really clicking with this squad, and we're going to dive deeper and see what's going on.
Exactly.
We've also got this quote from Josh Hart. It says, Josh Hart wants a long-term marriage with the Knicks. It's the quote-unquote perfect situation. Hart can see himself being part of the franchise for years to come. That's something I definitely want to do, Hart said on Thursday after practice. I want a home. I want to find a home. This is a place where I would love that home to be. And you see, Josh Hart, he's been moved from coast to coast for the most part. Started with the Lakers, ended up on the Pelicans, and went back to the Trailblazers, and now he's here with New York. So I can understand if he's tired of dealing with the jet lag and wants to find some place where he can actually get a mortgage as opposed to renting. So hopefully this is a long-term marriage with Josh Hart. I would love to see him here for the next 4 or 5 years and then reevaluate it after that, because he is someone that's bringing a different level of intensity to this squad, and he has a good relationship with Jalen Brunson from their time back in college. He's also got a good relationship with Julius Randle from their time with the Lakers. So the fact that he has synergy with those 2 players, it definitely bodes well for their on-court chemistry, and that's what we're seeing. Josh Hart, he's only played 5 games, but we've seen him in the closing stretches for the majority of his time here. And I think that just shows you how much faith Tom Thibodeau has in him. There's been reports that Tom Thibodeau wanted him back when he was coming in to the league. So the fact that now he's with a coach that really values what he can bring to a team, I think it definitely is the perfect situation for him. And hopefully we can make this work.
Yeah, he's absolutely. If you wanted to put together a perfect recipe for a Tibbs player, Josh Hart would pop out. Mm-hmm. That you could see from his first press conference after his first game, and just saying that he does the things that winners do. Sometimes it's much more than stats. It's those little things that sometimes maybe don't show up on stats. So he is absolutely that type of player, and I'd absolutely love him to be as a foundational piece of this team going forward, that we lock him up. As we know, Leon Rose was an agent in a previous life, and he's a CAA client right now, and there's a whole lot of friendliness and love there. So hopefully we can lock him up, and he could be a very valuable. Hopefully he'll wait for the real estate after the recession. So yeah, but
2024 they say 2024.
Exactly. So I would love him to be part of this team.
Also, we've got a $2 super chat from Buzzbeat that says, "Do we owe Tibbs and the front office an apology?" The answer to that is no.
No.
We've seen this type of performance before in the regular season, and yes, I'm thrilled with the way we have played, but in order for me to apologize for some of the things that I have said, I'm gonna have to see him do this in the postseason as well. we've, like I said, we saw this 2 years ago and the team faltered. Now let's see how we perform in this postseason, and whether or not Julius Randle can continue this high level of play, and whether or not Tom Thibodeau can continue to coach this team to success. And if they're able to do that, I'll say I was wrong with some of my assessments, because I did mention that Tom Thibodeau should have got fired towards the end of last season. And that was just based off how we were playing. But things have completely turned around. This team is doing much better. And I think, if they're able to play better in the postseason, then definitely we should be giving those guys an apology. But regular season, no, not yet.
Yeah, I agree. And also, we're doing shows, folks. We're reacting to the moment. So at that moment, whether he's playing the players way too much, the lack of innovation on offense, we're just seeing bad rotations, or bad plays after a timeout and stuff like that. Yeah, we're going to be hot. Hey, we've talked about getting a 6'8" wing on this team for a long time. So I don't have any issues for the things that we said, but. Again, going with Keys, 25-36 career playoff record. If Tibbs wants to change that persona, maybe these last 20 games, he's shown all these changes. Maybe cut back just a few minutes here or there. We talked about, Randle playing complete third quarters and things like that. Just little tweaks that he can do could allow us to really be the best we can be as we hit the playoffs. Everyone's going to be tired, but you don't want guys that are running 38 minutes, 39, 40 minutes. That just comes back to haunt you in the end. So great question, buzzer beater as always. But I'm really cool, and we're cool with what we said. But hey, we started the show off with flowers. Hey, we acknowledge all the things that Tibbs is doing. So we love our Knicks, and so when we're angry, it's about us being fans that this team deserves to be a winner. New York is a great town. I love the city. It deserves a winner. So when we don't get one, somebody has to take the blame, man.
That's a fact, Foxy. But Buzzer Beater, thank you for the super chat. We really do appreciate it. We see some suggestions as to what we should be giving Josh Hart, because JJ asked, what type of contract would you guys give a guy like Josh Hart? I would think anywhere from $13 to $16 million a year is a ballpark figure. You look at what Evan Fournier was given; he was given $17 million, and he's parked on the bench. But you look at a guy like Josh Hart, who's not as good of a shooter, but he's much better defensively, and he'll move the rock. He's not someone that the ball is going to stick in his hands, and he's a solid team player. So right around that $13 to $16 million range, maybe I can go to 17 or 18 if they have to. But I think that'll be a nice ballpark figure for him.
I think it's going to be more the latter. He's going to turn down a $12.9 million option. So I don't think 13 is going to make it for him. But like you said, Keith, I think, a D Rose comes off the books at the end of this year. Hail Mary, full of grace. We can get somebody to take Fournier's contract off. And if that happens, I have no problem us locking in, like you said, 17 million, 18 million in that range. And again, 25, the cap goes up. So it's not going to be as much of a hit. I think that'd be literally in the teens, his percentage of the cap, which is minute.
And also, we all know that the cap is going up year over year, so gives us a little bit more flexibility. And we did a pretty good job in the way we structured some of these contracts. You look at what Jalen Brunson is doing for us; his deal is descending, so he'll be cheaper and cheaper as the cap goes up year over year. And
Mitch too.
With Mitchell Robinson. Yep. So there's room to re-sign a guy like Josh Hart for a reasonable deal, and if we have to pay a little bit more, I'd be open to it.
Yeah, hey, you have to pay for quality, and he's quality.
Yep, we got Miguel P says 18 mil for 4 years. JJ says 470.
Yeah.
Miguel says 472. What else we got going on?
And so that's 18 million. Yep.
Paris Duggar says Josh Hart is our Marcus Smart. They're basically the same player. Josh Hart is also bigger, and I think he's more consistent three-point shooter as well. He struggled a little bit this season, but while he's been with us, he's been doing pretty decent knocking down the three.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, though. He's, Marcus Smart is not the same. Boston's not the same team without Marcus Smart, man. He's that soul of that team. So I think that's a great comparison, as usual.
Here we go. We got another quote from Josh Hart. It says, Josh Hart believes Knicks can go on a run. Teams won't want to play us. And we've been saying that for what, the past 2, 3 weeks? It says, I think we can be a really good team that can make a run. Hart said, I'm not going to sit here and say that we can be a 2 seed or whatever it is, but we're a team who can make a run who I think teams won't want to play. And we're already in the midst of that run right now. We've won 5 in a row. We've run 7 of our last 8. And 7 of our last 8 and 8 of our last 10. So this team has been balling. If we can continue to play this level of basketball, we'll end up, I think, pretty close to 50 wins. We asked that during the last stream how good we can be in the last 22 games, and we both said what, 15-7.
We did.
If we do 50, if we were 15-7, that'll bring us to right around 46, 47 wins. So I could see us, getting there or even getting up to 50. And that would put us smack dab in the 4th seed and maybe even angling for the 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Josh said, man, teams are going to take a step back and said, these guys are playing physical. They're diving for loose balls. They're communicating with each other. They want to win. They want it. How many games did we hear before Josh Hart's arrival that we heard a commentator said, we think that, the other team just wanted it more than the Knicks tonight, folks, in 4th quarter and for overtime. We're like, we were almost there. But folks, yesterday was a perfect example from start to finish. When was the last time on Knicks teams? Hey, we came back and everything, but it was a roller coaster. Start off good, 3rd quarter of doom. If we came back from start to finish, we're not getting used to that. I love that, man. That's saying no, man. And especially on our home court. Yeah, that's changing the whole identity.
Thanks. Also, we got a super chat from Adele Chapman. He says, how far is Leon away from putting in all the chips? I guess it would all depend on how well we do in this postseason. If we go on a run and it looks like we're legitimately one piece away, then I could see him doing something drastic this offseason. It all comes down to him making the right move, though. I don't want him to go crazy and do a deal where we end up getting worse. Because we've seen other teams around the league do it, make a major splash, and then not really being happy with the results. You look at a team like Cleveland, they went all in on a Donovan Mitchell, and we could potentially, pass them up in the season.
Absolutely. And one of the key things that, Keith and I have talked about, folks, is culture. So you don't want to, when you have a culture and people that are playing together and hard and stuff like that, unless you can get a player that's complementary to that culture, that's the only one you want to bring in. You don't want to put in somebody who's that, great stats, but there's aloof, who's not really a team player. It's like, stay the hell away. I don't care who, what their stats are. So I hope they're going to be selective and do, if that does happen. But Adele, again, thanks for the generosity and hope all is well with you and the family.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we had a suggestion. Says Clovis Doris says, how much are we giving IQ while we are paying Josh Hart? I would probably pay IQ right in the same ballpark. Similar pay. Have him continue to be that 6th man off the bench. We mentioned earlier Derrick Rose. His money is going to be coming off the books. You would hope we'd be able to free up money, similar to the way we freed up money for Jalen Brunson by moving off of a guy like Evan Fournier. And we should have the cap space to sign both Quickley and Josh Hart. We have Quickley's bird rights, so we can go over the cap in order to make that happen. The thing is, if you do pay Josh Hart and you do pay Emmanuel Quickley, then that pretty much means a guy like Obi Toppin is going to be sent somewhere else.
Yeah, but hey, you have to pay the guys that are delivering. And, it comes a point where you're tired of talking about potential. So hopefully Obi, the last 20 games, he'll get some burn too. Some of it's not his fault, but he's playing behind a guy that is on track for, 2nd team All NBA this year. So he's not going to get that. But we hope, we'll see what's going to happen, folks.
Another thing I want to point out, I like some of the messaging that you're hearing from a guy like Josh Hart.
Well, yeah, that one.
I messed that one up. But you like the messaging. When it's not your night offensively, you got to do the little things to impact the game. And then you got Jalen Brunson giving him a shout out saying you are so inspirational. And then Josh Hart giving him, some jabs saying he's going to have to block him now for talking some craziness.
Yeah, folks, off the air, when Keith and I said that, we're like saying, as it says, New York cool, is that that is just with you and your buddies, man. That's the type of thing like, yo, man, I'm blocking you with what get out of here, man. What kind of stuff is that? That is the type of player we love, man. That's like totally cool. So but yeah, and it's funny on the other slide, what did we hear from Tibbs so many times? Him echoing, hey, sometimes the shot doesn't fall. You got to do all these other things. When you're night, yeah, thank you. When it's not your night offensively, you got to do the little things to impact the game. And that's a Josh Hart specialty. Those tough rebounds, he comes up, those diving the ball, those blocks, those great, lockdown, possessions on defense. And also assists. He sees the floor. And also, folks, you see him in transition. I love how he gets that ball and pushes that ball up. This team is a different team with this guy.
Yep.
And he's so unselfish. Oh my God.
And that's what you love. The fact that he's willing to sacrifice his body, make the right play. And it's not all about him. It's about the team.
Yeah. Not where he'll have an open shot, but I think that guy with a corner three has an even better shot than I do and give up the shot.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally, Foxy. We got 165 in chat. Do us a solid. Smash that like button. Only got 51 likes. Let's see if we can get up to that 100 threshold. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, quick shout out to Soulfinger from the west side, I believe, of San Diego. San Diego smooth. Hope all is well with you and your family. Hope your daughter's balling out. Bricks Nation, as always, my friend. Hope all is well. Anthony R. Hey, my friend Anthony R. Congratulations to him and his wife. They went over the 1,000 threshold of subscribers yesterday for their channel. So nice. Happy birthday, Danette. My girl Danette, his wife, had a birthday yesterday. So I'm so proud of you and Anthony.
Yep, congrats to that. Definitely a major milestone, getting 1,000 subscribers. I remember when we cracked 1,000, it was definitely a monumental moment for me. So Anthony, I know you're thrilled about it. So congrats, man.
And again, happy birthday, Danette.
Facts. Josh Kajo says Hart makes us a second round team. Yeah, that grit and that hard work and the ability to pick his spots is what makes him one of the X factors for this squad. I think Hart, Quick, and Mitch are going to be our 3 X factors in the postseason. Because you look at role players, their play is going to be spotty. It's going to be hit or miss from game to game. If we can get 2 of those 3 to be clicking on all cylinders, I think we can go pretty deep. We can go on a run.
Yeah, that plus, folks, I have Brunson in last year's playoffs eating and spitting out Donovan Mitchell. And also playing when Luka wasn't there, taking the team on his back until Luka got back. So he's going to do the same this year, man. He's going to calm down Julius. So I really think this is the best free agent signing I've seen in a long, long time from any team. The impact that this man has had.
And speaking of Jalen Brunson, just look at what he's been able to do in clutch moments of the game. Now, the NBA classifies a clutch moment as being in the final 5 minutes of regulation and OT. And look, Jalen Brunson is going to be ranked second in terms of his field goal percentage. And, points per game, he's averaging 4.2 points per game in the clutch, shooting 50% from the field and 40% from the three-point line. Now, I know some people are still of the mind that Jalen Brunson is not a star player in this league. And you know what? You're entitled to your opinion if you feel that. I'm not going to argue with you. But what you cannot argue is the fact that Jalen Brunson is giving you star-level production. We've shown on multiple live streams, and we've compared him to the way Donovan Mitchell has been playing over the last 20-25 games and the way Ja Morant has been playing over the last 20-25 games. And statistically, they're identical. So Jalen Brunson,
or Jalen's better, and throw in exactly. the DeJounte Murray while you're at it.
Mm-hmm. So Jalen Brunson is one of the stars in the league, and he's able to take over in those clutch situations. Look at the game against the Washington Wizards. Yeah, they're trying to sully it by saying he traveled, quote unquote, but that man ain't traveled. That man hit a tough bucket over a 7-footer in KP that put us up 2. And I think if he's able to do that in the playoffs, this team is going to be a hard out. You've got a guy in Julius Randle, who we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show, who's balling. And if he can get us up to those situations where, there's 3 or 4 minutes left and it's a close game, Jalen Brunson will be able to take it. It's like a relay race. He'll take the baton and he'll bring us home. I'm from Jamaica. I'm a big, Usain Bolt fan. He could be our Usain Bolt. He could be our finisher, our closer.
You have a red stripe I could have? I'm really thirsty.
What you know about red stripe, Poppy?
Yeah, if there's a party, I know about it.
I hear you on that one.
Yo, yo, but folks, did any of us expect Jalen to be that, second in the league in clutch? And like we said, the impact on Julius not to have that weight on his back that I have to not only be the top scorer, I got to take, clutch. I'm exhausted. This guy's playing me in 100 minutes. Now this guy changes everything, and the look on he's all business, and Josh Hart, all business, man. So let's take this, let's win this in clutch, man. So wow, this changes everything, man. And look at the class. So anyone who says he's not a star, I've never seen somebody that has as many 30-point games plus 40-point games. That's, and most of all, watch the comments from players, folks. They consider Jalen Brunson a star. Forget about the All-Star game. Everyone that thinks about it, he's no doubt an All-Star. He was an All-Star. He is an All-Star this year. But the players, you hear the comments about how they like Jalen and that he's a downright killer, man. He's stone cold killer, man. Mikal Bridges called him, and that goes beyond Villanova love. It's just who he is, man. We seen second place on clutch. That validates exactly what the players said.
I mean, look at the players he's listed with. You got De'Aaron Fox. He just went off for 42 against the Clippers. You got DeMar DeRozan, who's been solid. We've been on the opposite end of DeMar DeRozan hitting some clutch shots where he eyed Quentin Grimes late in the game to win it. Luka, another guy, we've been on the opposite end of him playing, and coming up big in clutch moments. So Jalen Brunson finds himself in among the elites. And a lot of stats, not just being clutch, but other areas and other facets of the game. He's one of the most efficient players out there in the league, and he's also a smaller point guard. So for him to be that efficient, it means a lot. If Jalen Brunson was 6'8", 6'7", this guy would probably be one of the top 10, 15 players in the league. But
he wouldn't be on this team.
That's true. The Mavs would have never let him go.
Never let him go.
You know what they say: one man's trash, another man's treasure.
Yeah, but he's a treasure, man. That footwork, that's like a textbook. Every time he does, it's like it's unbelievable. His footwork, man. Mm-hmm. Kids, watch that.
Yeah, I've also been in the lab a little bit trying to do some of the moves. Honestly, you can see the guys on the team are watching the way Jalen Brunson is playing, because you got guys like RJ who's stealing his gather, Julius Randle, he's taking his gather as well. Well, let me say borrowing, because they're teammates. So they're both borrowing his gather. So there's the guys are on the guys on the team are keeping their eye on Jalen Brunson, and they're taking some things from him. So that's also key.
Exactly.
Let's see. Trish says, "Oh, we have 2 All-Stars on this team for sure." Facts. Even though they did us dirty and they didn't put Jalen Brunson in the game, he is a star in this league. Forget what other people are saying.
Yeah, no doubt. And shout out to Trish. I love chopping it up with Trish in the comments, folks. We have 176 in the chat, 63 likes. As Keith says, that algorithm on YouTube, please get us up to that 100 likes. It doesn't cost you a thing. Hit that like button. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't, please subscribe. As we always say, it's the one-stop shop for all Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. If you can't catch it live, like I just said, shout out to the replay gang. We love chopping it up with all the comments. Please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content. And last but not least, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
That's a fact, Foxy. All right, so moving on from Jalen Brunson, let's start talking about another talented guard on this team. And that's going to be the one, Emmanuel Quickley. So you can see Emmanuel Quickley, he's definitely started to percolate as the season has progressed. And if the Knicks continue to go on a run, it is not outside the realm of possibility that he could end up being, voted or get some votes for 6th man of the year. And I think Emmanuel Quickley might be not, I don't want to say the most impactful, but he's the most meaningful in terms of how our momentum shifts from game to game. If you look at some of the stats, when Emmanuel Quickley is knocking down the 3 in our wins, he's shooting right around 37%, 38% from 3 when we win. And when we lose, he's only shooting about 32% from 3. So there's right around a 5% differential in terms of how he shoots in games we win or lose. And one of the big things he was looking at talking about coming into the season was getting that field goal percentage up over 40%. And he's done that so far. He's shooting 44% from the field, and he's shooting 35.3% in total from the 3-point line. And you look at the guys that he's going up against, Brogdon, he's been playing well for the Celtics. Powell been playing well for the Clippers, and Maxey, his backcourt mate from his time in Kentucky is playing well as well. Guys like Brook, he'll probably fall out of there because I think he's starting for the Clippers now, so he probably won't factor in much. But you also got a guy like Ben Mathurin, so it's a pretty competitive race for sixth man of the year. But the paces are starting to fall off, so I expect Mathurin to fall back as well. So Quick could definitely get some votes, and he might even win if the Knicks can continue to play as well as they've been playing so far.
Yeah, and like we said, the last 20, if he gets hot, gets in a groove, gets those, that points, field goal, and 3-point percentage up a little. Hey, I have no problem. Hey, he's averaged 39% from the field goal up to 44. Yeah, that's development before our eyes, folks. We won, like we said, his last 5 games and last 20 games stretch, he's shooting much better than the 35-3 that you see there. And also, what this doesn't talk about is that elite defense.
Yep.
So, game changer. That possession against Kuzma the other night, he's going against a monster in height and length, and he's giving him all this trouble on his handles, reaching in with that great wingspan of his, and just that tenacity. And when he hit that 3, the way he looked at the crowd, he's pure New York, man. He's a keeper. And like we said, just let's be patient. We have him under for $4.2 million next year. That's chump change, man. Let's just watch his development. We've seen him with his left hand. We've seen the short midi this year. We've seen, him break into the basket, just doing all these things, adding to his game. He ups that 3-point percentage more consistently, and plus that defense, plus everything else. He's a winner chicken dinner.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about a little bit the highlight play he had with Julius Randle. That was all set into motion by his solid defense, getting the strip and initiating the fast break. He also had a solid block too. I don't know who it was that he blocked, but somebody had got the offensive rebound, and he didn't give up on the play like we've seen other players do. He stayed he stayed with it, got that block, and it ended up going the opposite way, and we were able to get a good look at the basket. Talking about Quick and how he's been performing, his 3-point percentage over the last 14 games, he's been shooting 41.9% from 3. So he's been going crazy. Field goal percentage 48.3% from the field, and he's averaging 13.4 points in right around 30 minutes per game. So Quick has been balling recently, and I know someone mentioned that Norman Powell, he's been playing well for the Clippers, but I think Emmanuel Quickley's been playing his ass off as well. And I think if people really look at it in an unbiased way, Emmanuel Quickley definitely deserves some votes for NBA Sixth Man of the Year.
I know, no question. There's no question. Absolutely. He's everything that, when he first came in, maybe a Lou Will type of player and stuff like that. Lou Will never played defense like that ever in his whole career. So he has the upside on Quickley is even higher than Lou Will.
Mm-hmm. Also, Nick Yak says Quickley is next to last on the board shooting. It's not helping your argument, but he had a slow start. I won't deny that he definitely did have a slow start, but you've seen how he played in the last 14 games. He's been an elite player off the bench in recent games. So if he can continue to do that for the next 20 so odd games, I could definitely see him shoot up the list when it comes to the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award. And also, this live stream is sponsored by BetUS, so you can always head over to betus.com and you can put $10-15 in on Emmanuel Quickley and see if you can make some money. I know I'll be doing it.
Yeah, I like the way you think.
BetUSA, folks. Money. All right, so let's move forward. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. Foxy, anybody you want to give a shout out to in chat?
Miguel P, can we see the comparison with minutes per game? Which comparison? Which one was that? We showed a few.
I'm guessing it's the Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, if it's Sixth Man of the Year, maybe next week we'll come back. We'll make that amendment. It's kind of hard mid show to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to mess up the flow.
Yeah, shout out to E. Gibson. Hope all is well. Craig, over the last 14 games with RJ slumping, he's averaging 19 points per game, 44% field goals, and 36% from 3. So I believe he's talking IQ. So thank you, Craig.
What was that? Let me see. You said over the last 14 games with RJ slumping. Oh, okay. No, I think RJ is averaging that.
Over the last 14 games with RJ slumping. Okay.
Yeah, over the last 14, Quickly's
Yep.
averaging 13.4 and shooting
Yep.
48.3 and 41.9% from three. I got to say it one more time just because he's out here killing. All right, but since we're talking about RJ, there was a little bit of news circulating with the fact that RJ didn't end up closing against the Wizards, and that was a big hoopla or a big to do, I guess you want to put it like that. And then Stephon Bondi had this tweet to say, it says, a few weeks after his coach said RJ Barrett will finish games 99% of the time, the Young's forward's status as a closer is in flux. So what we did is we went and tried to pull up some stats, look at the guys that could be out there on the court, and that would be Quick, Grimes, RJ, and Josh Hart. We just wanted to look at how they've been performing recently. So over the last 5 games, you can see Emmanuel Quickley is averaging 14.4 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, and 2.2 assists per game while shooting 53.1% from the field and 42.9% from three. The free throw percentage, you got to get that up a little bit higher. What is he, 2 for 3? But that's 66.7.
Yeah. So that's strange for him, as we know he's a great shooter.
But it's such a small sample size. You miss one, you completely throw off the percentages. Same thing. You look at Josh Hart. He's been averaging 14.2 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game, while shooting 61% from the field and 62.5% from the 3-point line. And that was one of my biggest concerns with him coming over. Would he be able to, shoot better, because he was shooting right around 32% with the Trailblazers before he came over here. And for him to be effective, he's gonna have to knock down the three, because he's gonna get looks. Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are some of the most doubled players in the league, so there's gonna be opportunities for open looks from the 3-point line, and Josh Hart has been cashing in. So that's one of the reasons you're seeing him out there to close games. He's been knocking down his shots, and he's been playing outstanding defense. You look at Quentin Grimes. He's averaging 5.8 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and 1 assist per game, while shooting 33.3% from the field and 38.1% from the 3-point line. And then there's RJ Barrett, who's been averaging 16 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 3 assists, and he's been shooting 43.5% from the field and then 29.2% from the 3-point line.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not, RJ's always been up, down type of guy, but he finishes the season strong. We said it, I think, on the stream, last stream and the one right before that. I think RJ is going to finish real strong. He's going to bring that 3-point shooting up. And last night's indicative, we're on the way, man. Played a strong game, both shooting, getting to the hole, foul shooting. And like we said, he played a decent defensive game, man.
Yeah, I like the effort he's showing coming out of the All-Star break. That was one of the things everybody was getting on him. But from the outset of that game against the Wizards, he was probably one of the only guys, well, not the only guys, but he was probably giving them the best effort defensively until we started to figure things out halfway through that first quarter. So you got to give RJ Barrett some kudos for that. It's going to be pretty hard to close games when you got a guy like Josh Hart shooting the way he's shooting and being a better defender, And same thing with Emmanuel Quickley. He's been shooting lights out and he's been solid defensively and he's been all over the court. So RJ is going to have, a lot of competition. And I think that's good for young players. And it's not like what we saw 2-3 years ago where he was competing with guys that didn't have long-term futures with this squad. He's competing against guys that are young and are going to be in our plans long-term. So I'm open to it if he's not out there on the court and plays for a guy like Emmanuel Quickley or Josh Hart, because I view them as long-term pieces for this squad. And as long as RJ's still getting his close to 30 minutes throughout the game, if he's not out there to close, so be it. At the end of the day, it's going to be who's going to help us win the game. And if somebody else is the one that's clicking, then they're going to be the one getting those minutes. It is what it is.
A shout out to you, Keith. You had a wonderful observation after the first game with Josh Hart. You said, did you see RJ dive for that ball? I don't know if I've seen him all season dive for that ball. So he's like, that look on his face like, yo, I better start picking this thing up, because Tibbs, this guy, maps right into everything Tibbs loves. So if I don't do it, Tibbs won't think twice about having him playing instead of me. So I got to pick my game up. So, that was a great observation on your part. And we're seeing every game that it's coming true. Like, I got to bring it tonight. There's no off games anymore. Every game's a playoff game, and with 20 to go, folks, it really is. Every game we got to come out with the game face, and that's why we love Brunson. That's why we love Josh Hart. That's why we love Quick. Why we love Grimes. Now we just want Barrett to have that game face, man.
Yeah, competition breeds development. I mean, isn't that why capitalism is so great? Great, the fact that you have other people competing, and it pushes innovation. So I think in sports, it pushes players to be better. If they got somebody else that can take their minutes, they have to look deep down and say, "All right, I've got to be a better version of me." And I think RJ Barrett has the skill set to do that. And I think he has the work ethic to do that. We heard it during COVID. He was one of the guys putting up shots before and after games. And hopefully, if he gets back to that, he'll be the one out there closing games. Like Tip said, 99% of the time, he'll be closing. Well, he needs to put a little bit more work in so that it's 100% of the time.
Exactly. Let the best person win.
And then now we're going to drill down a little bit just to see what these guys have done in the fourth quarter specifically. And as you can see, Emmanuel Quickley, even though he's not a starter, he's been putting in a decent amount of points in the fourth quarter, 4.3 points per game, 1.3 rebounds per game, while shooting 42% from the field and 31%, roughly 32% from three. Josh Hart, he's averaging 2.4 points per game, 2.1 rebounds per game, while shooting 53% from the field and 35.5% from the three-point line. And then you have Quentin Grimes. He's averaging right around 2 points per game, 0.6 rebounds per game, 0.3 assists per game, while shooting 43.2% from the field. And this is a nice stat. He's shooting 38.8% from the three-point line. So that's going to be key, especially when we're battling teams in the postseason. We need a guy like Quentin Grimes to knock down those clutch three-point shots, because Julius Randle, from what I see from Julius Randle, he kind of relies on Quentin Grimes at times, almost like Randle relied on Reggie Bullock a couple years ago. So if he's able to knock that down, that 39% from three, and have a guy like Julius Randle trust in him, you could see Quentin Grimes out there on the court getting a lot of minutes in the fourth quarter as well. And then you look at RJ Barrett, he's averaging 4.4 points per game, 1.3 rebounds per game, and 0.6 assists per game, while shooting 39.2% from the field and 26% from the three-point line. So you can see why there's you can see why he's not always out there to close, especially with those shooting numbers. And if you look at the minutes per game, Quick and Josh Hart have been playing more minutes in the fourth quarter than RJ in recent games. So hopefully it doesn't trend like that too much and you see RJ Barrett continue to step it up. But if not, like I said, if those are the two that are taking the bulk of the minutes, I'll live with it. It is what it is.
Yeah. And like you said, those minutes are there because of defense. We know Tibbs. So if those guys have that, so yep. That, like we said, man, that's a great leverage. But the 38-8 for Quentin Grimes, that's what he shoots. So I'm glad that's what he's in our eyes, he shot 40% at Houston. He shot basically 40% last year. We want him to be 40% shooter. So we're not asking anything. So that 38-8 is who he is. It's just the other areas that, what we want to pick it up. So, so now's the time for them to refine, get those numbers up in crunch time.
Let's see what we got going on in chat. Trish says QG needs more touches. Facts, he definitely needs to get some more shots up. But I think offensively, the team isn't really struggling, so I don't think there has to be some massive changes. But if you can find a way to implement Quentin Grimes a little bit more, I think it's definitely something that the team can explore.
Yeah, and Trish, we'll go into, we were jotting down some stuff maybe for next week, and then we'll just touch just a little on it now. That if you look at the usage of Jalen, RJ, Randle, there isn't that much touches to go around for Grimes and stuff like that. So that's why on second teams and stuff, maybe he'll get it. But he's the type of player, and we showed a quote last week saying whatever's best for the team. So he's a perfect, for our culture and stuff like that. But, when he does get that open shot, as you see, he's draining that three, and that's why he's here, that defense and that three-point shooting. A quick shout out to Mike Gowdy. He said, I don't understand how this podcast doesn't get more likes. Thank you so much for those kind words. As you can see the slides, folks, we work all week to give you, this type of information and, create these graphics, go do the research so we can make it as entertaining and, just enlightening for you. So thank you, Mike, for those kind words. We really, really appreciate it.
Yep, we really do appreciate it. And, we don't really focus too much on who's in chat and not who's in chat, but how many is in chat and how many likes there are. We just try to give you as good of a show as we can provide, and the likes and the views will come. But thank you for at least pointing that out. We really do appreciate the support. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Just want to highlight the comment real quick. Thank you for that. All right, Foxy, anybody else you want to give a shout out to? I see Jesco says QG needs to slow it down a little bit. Sometimes he's wide open, but he still doesn't set his feet. That is true. He does have to slow it down just a little bit. I think he gets a little bit too excited. But when he does start to attack the basket, we see good things happen. Like I think it was the game yesterday where he was able to attack a defender that was closing out, go baseline, and he found RJ that was cutting. You see a lot of plays like that from a guy like Quentin Grimes, and maybe that's why you don't see this shot attempts per se, because he's one of the guys, like you said, he does what's best for the team, and at times he'll give up a good three in order to attack and find a much better look in the paint for one of his guys, whether that be Jericho Sims when he was out there, Mitch, or even a player, a wing cutting like RJ Barrett.
Yeah, and Jesco, what we always say, he's a pup, second year in the league, so what we're looking for development, that's something we have on our list for next year. That he, doesn't look, like you said, so frazzled sometimes, out of control like that. That maybe he pulls up with a midi, adding that to his repertoire. But yeah, that's a great observation on your point, and that's one of the areas we definitely want to see development on next year.
Yep. Let's see what else we got going on in chat, and then we'll get into our next topic. Craig says we need to see how IQ does against a Marcus Smart, Holiday, Tyrese Maxey. Oh yeah, he gets killed by them, especially Maxey. I wouldn't say he gets killed by them per se. I think Emmanuel Quickley is one of the best perimeter defenders out there, and if they do knock down shots, they're tough shots. I mean, people were saying that about Quentin Grimes earlier. He was getting cooked by guys, things like that. But you look at the shot that DeRozan hit over him for game. He was in good position outside of a few moments where he fouled and whatnot. But for the most part, the guys are in position, and great offense beats great defense sometimes. I heard that from Kobe time in, time out. You can only do what you can defensively, and if the opposing player knocks down the shot, you got to give them their kudos and get them back on the other end. And I think Emmanuel quickly does a solid job at that.
We just saw it the other day, folks. We just saw the sixth man of the year. Jordan Clarkson was on that. We saw you could not play any better defense than Josh Hart played on Clarkson on a couple of possessions, and Clarkson drained it. That's why it's the NBA, man. You can play unbelievable defense, and these guys still drain it. That's why it's such a. I love this game of basketball, man.
Facts. All right. So let's jump into the next topic we wanted to discuss. We're going to look at some advanced analytics. So first, we're going to look at some Raptor stats and just show you who the leaders are. That way, you can have a comparison once we show you how the Knicks are doing. So these are the Raptor offensive leaders. You've got number one, Nikola Jokic. He has the +10. Luka Doncic +9.4. Damian Lillard +9.1. Tyrese Halliburton is at +6.4, and then James Harden is at +5.8.
Yep. And folks, that Raptor, as we have it down below, stands for Robust Algorithm Player Tracking and On-Off Ratings. You have some, cleaning the glass. You have Basketball Reference, where it's more of a mathing. How many points scored minus how many points allowed gives them, their ratings. Raptor does it a lot differently. It's a much more modern. It's a blended methodology where it has on-off, has player tracking. It does a few other things. So a lot of teams utilize this. So we're seeing on the Raptor Raptor methodology, those are the leaders.
And now we're going to look at the defensive leaders. You got Alex Caruso. He's a guy that the front office wanted to target at the trade deadline, and you see why. And our defensive Raptor at +5.8. Then you've got Rudy Gobert, former Defensive Player of the Year, at +4.7. Embiid +4.8. Jokic again at +4.2. And then you've got Brook Lopez at +4.1. Now, we showed you these stats so that way when we show you how our guys are doing, you can kind of have a comparison. So here we have the starting lineup. We have Jalen Brunson, His total was at plus 3.6. Offensively, he's at plus 4.6, and then defense he's at minus 1.0, minus 1. Quentin Grimes, he's at minus 0.2 in total. Offense is minus 0.6. Defense is plus 0.4. RJ Barrett, he's at minus 2.3 total. Offense is at plus 0.1. Defense is at minus 2.4. Julius Randle, he's at plus 2.4 total. Offense, he's at plus 3.5. Defense, he's at minus 1.1. And then you've got Mitchell Robinson, who's at plus 3.7 total, plus 1.1 offensive, and then plus 2.6 defensive. And if you look at it, it kind of tells you the story. You already know Jalen Brunson, he's been killing offensively, but there are some deficiencies defensively. So that tells you that Quentin Grimes, defensively, he's a plus. Offensively, there's moments where he shines, but then there's also moments you've seen him struggle sometimes on offense. RJ Barrett, he's been one of the worst defenders on the team this season. That's reflected in the Raptor. And then offensively, he's been kind of a wash. Same thing with Julius Randle. Defensively, even though he played phenomenal in the game against the Pelicans yesterday, but the defense can be hit or miss at times with Julius Randle. But offensively, he's been playing stellar. So you see the plus 3.5. And then Mitchell Robinson, Mitchell Robinson is a beast defensively. And then you factor in the things that he can do offensively. So he's a plus player on both ends, but gives you a total of plus 3.7. And he's got the highest Raptor in the starting lineup, higher than Julius Randle and higher than Jalen Brunson. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen. We were missing Mitchell Robinson for an extended period of play, and we played well. So now we're getting a guy like Mitchell Robinson back, and this team is, like we said, primed and ready for a run and is ready to peak at the right time. He just has to stop scaring me, bro. He was in the game for like 3-4 minutes, and I'm like, this guy's limping already. I'm like, what's going on, Mitch? You gotta relax.
I know one of the lobs to him was a touch high and he got it, but when he came down, he was like running a little. I was like,
yeah,
oh no,
a little gimpy. I was like,
oh no, God, please, let it be.
Nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, you captured, and this is why Raptor is considered, that, like you said, but thank God for like Jalen 1.0. And again, folks, this is like for 100 possessions and stuff like that, or a game, so they're basing it that way that. But yeah, that he's just there, but offense, like he said, and Grimes got to pick it up, and but it also displays what we've seen during the season. Like we said, there's been a couple of good games, but this is for the season that they got to pick it up on defense. RJ and Randle coming into the playoffs, and thank God Randle can can compensate that for his unbelievable offense.
Also, got to give a quick shout out to Twitch. We also are streaming live on Twitch, and we've got one viewer in there. So thank you. We really do appreciate you. All right, let's get down to the and now this is cleaning the glass. So we're going to look at this as well. Now, Foxy, you mentioned there is a little bit of noise when you look at the cleaning the glass stats. So that's why you might see a major discrepancy in certain areas. For example, I don't believe Jalen Brunson's contributions are a wash because he's that bad defensively. Now, there are some issues with him defensively. He's not a defensive stopper by any means, but I don't think he's that much of a liability. You look at what he's able to do by causing turnovers with drawing charges and things like that. So, this is where some of the noise can come into effect. You look at a guy like Quentin Grimes. Offensively, he's a positive, but defensively, he's a plus 0.3, which is negative. And then RJ Barrett. Oh man, cleaning the glass is not like RJ.
You ain't kidding,
minus 10.3. Oh man,
but that's math. Meaning it's not really what they like. It's just basically saying we're going to take all the points scored while he's been on offense and subtract the amount of points allowed while he was there. And oh shoot, that wow. But that's why on Raptor they saw this issue with cleaning the glass and Basketball Reference and some of the classic box plus minus, and that's why they used the example of JaVale McGee a couple of years ago, that they had to have a different rating system. That if you looked at the ratings for JaVale McGee, it's like unbelievable. But they said we have to compensate. But look at the players around him. JaVale McGee's JaVale McGee. He's not an all-world defense. He's a good defensive player, but his stats make it look like, oh my God. So that's why they factor it, and why when we looked at the Raptor versus the cleaning the glass, why it was a lot more, realistic. This is just pure, like it says, points minus points allowed. But like you said, it's horrific on RJ. You can like lose your breath when you look at like oh my God, 10-point difference.
Yeah, that was rough. You look at Julius Randle, he's at plus 2.7, plus 10.6 offensively, and then plus 7.9 defensively. And then Mitchell Robinson, he's a darling for both systems.
Exactly.
Plus 9.4 differential and plus 4.2 offensive differential, and then minus 5.2 in terms of defense. And this team has been solid defensively for the most part. So the fact that the entire starting lineup, it says positive there, but that positive really means negative on the defensive end. To me, hard to believe. But yeah, Mitchell Robinson, he's earned his paycheck. A lot of people didn't want us to re-sign him, but he's showing his impact out there on the court. Just got to stay healthy.
Yeah, in fact, the guy that I said that I didn't want to sign Mitch last year, and I said, hey, with our draft pick last year, I wanted to sign some guy named Mark Williams, who just missed a 2020 game last night, had 20 rebounds, 18 points, who's been balling like crazy. So I'm glad we have Mitch, but you better stay healthy. Otherwise, I'll take it back.
He's got to be there for the playoffs.
Yeah, but you see the anomalies there. Is like Grimes is negative on the defensive side, get the hell, and positive on the off. So that's why we wanted to show that, we did a special about 2 months ago about Bob Myers, his potential GMs that could come into this front office. And he had a great comment that, stats are like bikinis. You see a lot, but you don't see everything. And sometimes you have to take this or look at other types of methodologies like we do with Raptor to really get a focus. And most of all, the eyes. The eyes don't lie. So you look at the stats, and then the last thing that you should always go by is what does your eyes tell you?
Thanks, Foxy.
Pardon me, you got an itchy throat.
It's all good. Pause. Now, we looked at the starters. Now, let's get into.
Don't make me laugh, man.
Let's get into the bench unit. All right. So you look at the bench. Now we're back to Raptor stats. You look, Emmanuel Quickley. He's all positives when it comes to Raptors. Plus 2.2 total, plus 0.5 offensive, and plus 1.7 defensive. Josh Hart, another darling in the system, plus 2.4 total. And then offensively is plus 1.2. Defensively is plus 1.2 as well. Now, Obi says he's a wash defensively, but then offensively he's at a minus 2.3. And then you've got Hart, who offensively is a minus 1.4, because we still don't really use him in the best way possible to unlock some of his talents. But defensively, he's been stepping up for us as a rim protector at plus 1.5, which would give him a positive net at plus 0.1.
Hey, folks, you notice if you take the starting team and now the second team with Raptor, that's Tibbs' closing team. The guys that are all in green. You notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Outside of Hart. Well, Hart isn't all in green, so I guess he gets removed. But if you weren't, if you just wanted to see it visually, so you look at the guys that are majority in green. You've got Brunson, you've got Randle, you've got Mitch, and then you add him to the guys on the second unit. You've got Quick, and you've got Josh Hart, and then that is the closing unit you saw against the Washington Wizards.
X.
And then let's jump right into the differential again from cleaning the glass. Emmanuel Quickley, he's at plus 8.7 in terms of differential, minus 2.7 offense, but defense, he's at minus 11.4, which is off the charts.
Fantastic, good.
Yep. And you look at Josh Hart, he's been killing no matter where he is. In Portland, he was all positives. And even now with the Knicks, the numbers are just ridiculous, especially offensive. At plus 25.3 offensive, minus 0.6 defense. And then differential is 25.9. Obi and Hart. Oh, go ahead. You wanted to say something?
No, just meaning like that's off the chart, folks. So that means in a game, we're scoring either 100 points and they're scoring 75. A 25-point difference is amazing.
Facts. You look at Obi Toppin, he's at minus 2.9 in terms of differential, minus 7.8 offensive, and then defensive is at minus 4.9, which is a positive. We did a good job of trying to color code these columns for you. That way you can understand what's good and what's bad. And Hart, his differential is minus 1.1, and offense is minus 2.4, and then defense is minus 1.3. So you can see there's a little bit more noise when it comes to the differential. It kind of throws things off a little bit. For the most part, things are in line with what we're seeing out there on the court.
Except for Ovi. That's saying we're 5 points better on defense because of Ovi. And that's why on Raptor, it's a lot more accurate, where it's a wash, but it's, I think it was 0 if my memory, but not 5 points better. So that's why all the front offices are using Raptor.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what we got going on in chat.
A quick shout out to Knicks 100 a game, the biggest IQ lover we've ever seen. So everyone, I just want you to shout out Knicks 100 a game for being the biggest Emmanuel Quickley fan that we've ever seen.
Knicks 100 can't stand that man quick.
Seriously, I never knew that. I never noticed that.
Knicks 100, man, you gotta give Quick some kudos. He's been balling for that second.
Yo.
All right, but let's talk about the man of the hour. We took a video of Tibbs kind of talking about Julius Randle. Well, no, before we get into the video, let's just look at what Julius Randle has been doing this season. We call him Mulligan real quick. So far, Julius Randle this season has more points than Giannis or Dame Lillard. He's got more rebounds than Jokic or Gobert. He's got more assists than Steph or Kyrie. And he's got more three-pointers than Luka or James Harden. He's also got more free throws made than Ja Morant or Kevin Durant. So you can see Julius Randle is listed with the elites of the elites, and he's been playing phenomenal. He's been knocking down the three. He's been getting to the free throw line. He's been finishing around the rim. And if he can continue to play like this, the sky is the limit. We need that guy that we can look to get a bucket. And not only does he get a bucket, he's getting you some rebounds. And when he makes the right decision and keeps his head up, he can find open guys all over the court. So, Julius Randle has been balling out. And if he can continue to play like this, then I think this team can definitely expect to be in the second round, especially if the guys around him can feed off the high level of play he's performing out there on the court.
Yeah, and just like it was a travesty that Brunson didn't make the All-Star game, if Julius, with 20 games to go, man, it doesn't make at least second team All-NBA. It's criminal. It's that New York hate again. But again, shout out to Julius, man. That's, Tommy Beer, shout out to him. We can't have a podcast without his wonderful tweets and information. Yep. So that says it all, man, that he's in the who's who. He has more points across all those different metrics than the who's who in the league. So he deserves it, man.
My bad, Fox. Did I take it away before you?
No. We're perfect. Thank you.
All right, cool. So now I wanted to jump into a video about Tibbs talking about Julius Randle and some of the shots he's been putting up.
Years under you, he's really been getting these shots up. And how tough has that been on defenses when he's going to shoot, and he could shoot from outside, he could hurt you with the power inside, and just how you've helped him kind of change his game?
Well, it's when we talked about that from 3 years ago, that we were at such a great deficit team wide, and we felt that if he would change his shot profile, it would change his game, and it did. And 3 years ago, he shot over 40 from three, and it opened up because he's got the great first step. He's got the power. He can attack the rim. So when he's hitting that shot, it opens the floor up for us. And so we always felt like if we could get closer, and there was a wide gap, we were at a huge deficit. So the whole plan was, let's close the gap. And so we wanted to be high volume, and I think we're 8th or something like that, 7th or 8th in the league in three-point attempts, and try to get to league average. And we challenged every player to do it. And so it's a team response. So not only to take them, but to create them. So how do you create them? You got to attack the rim, and then you got to make rim reads. And so if there's traffic, spray it. If you're one-on-one, you got an angle to the basket, go. Also getting to the free throw line. And you look at his free throw attempts, they've gone way up. Those are high-value shots. So, we wanted to put more of a limit on the mid-range shot Not that we say never, but there's a time and place, and that's, we had to get the volume of those down. And I think he has. I think that's been a big change for him.
So here we have on screen a snapshot of Julius Randle's shot profile over the last 4 years. And as you can see, the 2-pointers year over year have just dropped dramatically. When he first got here, it was 77% of his shots were 2-pointers. Now it's down to 56.2%. You look at the 3-pointers. 23 he only shot 23% of his shots were 3-pointers. Now you look at it this year, 43.8% are 3-point shots. And of course, he's not shooting it lights out like we saw in 2021, but he's shooting it pretty decent for the most part. And as long as he's knocking down the three, it makes him extremely difficult to guard, because you saw in the game yesterday, what did he knock down, like a 27 footer off the pull-up?
Yeah, that was kind of wild. that was almost logo level.
Yeah, and you see how big Julius Randle is. If you have to step up that far, he's got that explosive first step, and then once he gets you on his hip, there's nothing you can do. You can't stop him. And if he's continuing to make the right reads, once he collapsed the defense, if the offense is flowing through him, it's pretty much unstoppable for the most part. So as long as he's able to threaten teams with that 3-point shot, I think we're going to see this level of production from him. And that's I haven't been the biggest Julius Randle fan throughout his time here with the Knicks, but one thing I've said is if that 3-point shot is falling and people are fearing it, then he's a hard guy to guard. So you can see Tibbs has mentioned it, and up on the screen we kind of compiled some of his shots throughout his time, and you can see the mid-range for the most part is kind of, I won't say evaporated, but you see 2020 2021 he shot 20% of his shots from 10 to 16. Now it's only 12.5. You look at the 3 to 10, only 14.4% of his shots are from there. And then the big one I think is the 16 to pretty much 3-point range, which is not necessarily high value shots. Those are deep twos. You see what he did the last 2 years. 16.7% of those shots were from deep two. 21-22, 14.4% of those shots were from deep two. Now this season only 6.4, and I think that is where you're starting to see a lot of Julius Randle's success, because last couple years he was bailing teams out by taking those deep 2-point shots. Now he's forcing teams to react by either stretching out the defense a little bit more by taking 3-point shots or attacking the basket like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah. And from a Tibbs perspective, this is the modern NBA. At 88 shots yesterday, 48 were threes. So that you could see our mix now, shooting more threes than twos, and that 20% difference from the 2 going to 3%. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. And also one of the key things that he said, and what we've been seeing, those massive dunks, him being aggressive, getting to the rim. If you're a defender and you're worried about him, because he's unbelievable for his size, especially north-south, he'll blow right past you. So if you're taking a defensive posture, like I got to be cool, he'll eat you up from one place or the other. So he's a very, very, or he'll kick it out, like spray that ball around to the open guy. So that's really valuable, man.
Yeah, so I'm liking the way Julius Randle has been performing so far this season. You listen to some of his post-game press conferences and interviews and stuff like that. He says a lot of it is mental. He feels like he's in a good space right now to be a good teammate. We've heard it on 2 occasions. We heard it when he was talking about, some conversations he had in private with Johnny Bryant. And then we also heard it after the Wizards games, where he's in a space mentally where he can be the best teammate he can be. And I think that frees up a lot of the guys on the team, because you look at it last year, he was barking on guys. I'm pretty sure they were stepping on eggshells around it, because they didn't know what type of Julius Randle they were going to deal with from game in to game out. I mean, us as fans, we were calling him Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. We didn't know what type of Julius we were going to have game in to game out. But now we're seeing a consistent effort from Julius Randle. We're seeing a consistent high level of play, and I think his teammates are starting to feed off of that. So this is great news as a Knicks fan, to see one of our best player, if not our best player, really figuring things out and being able to replicate the all-NBA type of play we saw from 2 years ago. And not only is he being able to replicate that level of success, I think he's taking it a step further and having an even better season this year.
Yeah, and what I love about it, that he extended by saying, besides being the best teammate that he can be, best husband he could be, the best father he can be. So, like you said, sometimes, he had a kid a couple of years ago. We didn't know if that was impacting him, like asleep. That changes everything. So him having a life balance where he's happy in life, and happy on in the court, that changes everything, man. He comes, you could just see it in his demeanor, like, whew, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I got my life back.
Yeah, he definitely seems relieved.
Absolutely. We have a super chat from Trish D. Thanks again, Trish.
Yep. Thank you for the super chat, Trish. It says, let me put it on screen. So Trish says, IQ has taken a huge step and his production will be a big part of how far this team will go in the postseason. This super chat is intended to outblast Knicks 100. Trish out here taking jabs via super chat. We really do appreciate the support. Thank you for that, Trish.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Yep. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. E. Gibson says, I like Randle getting the green light when he is on. The thing with Randle, sometimes he takes some heat checks that are kind of like, bro, you got to chill. But for the most part, I do like him getting the green light. Just some of those heat checks, you got to be like, all right, relax a little bit, bro.
Yeah, there was a few games ago in the first quarter where he was hitting his threes and then he got crazy. He's like,
got crazy. I'm like, all right, bro, come on.
Exactly. All right, Julius, we're cool, but
you gotta relax a little bit.
Yeah, but if he has that smile, then everybody's smiling.
Facts. So, all right, let's jump into the team as a whole now. Let's look at some of the stats the guys are putting up for the season. So, as you can see, the guys in the green, you've got Jalen Brunson, 23.7 points per game, shooting 40.7 from the three-point line, 48% from the field, solid numbers. RJ Barrett, he's averaging 19.7 points per game. Would really like to see him get that back over 20 so we can have three guys averaging the 20 points per game and the three lefties averaging the 20 points per game. The three-point percentage, you got to see him up that a little bit. I think we were talking about it in the last stream, right? We want to see these guys try to get to around 37% from three.
League average.
Possible. Yeah, Julius Randle, once again, you can see double machine, 25 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, shooting 46.4% from the field, and he's shooting 34.5 from the three-point line. So he has increased the volume of three-pointers, and as long as he's shooting them at a respectable clip and forcing teams to step up, he's going to be dangerous. So yeah, he's not shooting the 41% we saw from 2 years ago, but 34.5% from three is respectable, and it forces teams to respect him out there on the perimeter. Mitchell Robinson, 9.1 rebounds per game, 68.8% field goal percentage. And to be honest, that's kind of low for Mitch. We're used to seeing Mitch in the 70s. So
you think he has the record for the year?
Yeah. Jericho Sims, if he got some minutes, would have been able to challenge him. But, he's not really getting the minutes now that Mitch has returned. I would like to see Mitch average a double-double. I really want to see him get there. I feel like he can average 10 points per game and get to the 10 rebound per game mark.
Well, we gave him $60 million. That was one of the things that we said, we're not asking for 20 points a game, but we're asking for 11-11. We think that's, a double-double that way. So stay healthy. He is the best or top two offensive rebounders in the game. What we saw last night and what we all feel is so much of his goodness doesn't reflect in box scores. Shots that where somebody says, I'm going to pull this back out. That dude's there or whatever. So the only thing I ask him, Mitch, though, is if Jericho Sims can be shooting around 80% from the free throw line and you could see his form, Mitch, please, man, this offseason, please put the time in. Those, line drive, 438 mile per hour foul shots just don't make it, man. You got to listen to Clyde. You got to have a little arc on, let your shot do you justice. Nothing good's going to happen from a line drive shot like that. And the only reason we have RJ, like you said, 19.7, if that was 80, we asked from the starters that you are 80% above from the free throw line. And if he was just a couple points higher, he'd be a 20-point scorer, RJ. So we said that last year. We're saying it again this year. We don't want that foul shooting that hurt us in the playoffs when we get there. So, that's what was so good about last night. We shot 82% from the foul line as a team. That's what we want. So
that's where we want to be.
Yep.
Yeah, we got 224 in chat. We got 125 likes, so we hit that 100
Thank you
threshold. We
so.
really do appreciate that. If you haven't liked already, this would be a great time to do so. And if you're not subscribed, this would be a great time to do that as well. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you have notifications set to all. That way, you're notified 30 minutes before we go live, and you can be in chat and chop it up with us as we set up the stream.
Yeah, and in between Sundays, check out the wonderful shorts that Keys is putting out on the really around the league, all the different NBA stars and what they're doing. So wonderful shorts, my friend.
Yep. And we're gonna be doing some more Knicks videos in terms of some concentrated topics and things like that. I got one I'm working on with Emmanuel Quickley. I'll see if we can do another one on Josh Hart. And also, I've been debuting a new segment here called Tapped In, where we focus on some of the things that's been happening around the league. Talked about Trae Young and the dysfunction that's going on over there with the Atlanta Hawks. So stay tuned in for videos like that as well.
Yeah, and he got me in a rear naked choke, and I tapped out yesterday. So I'm glad that segment didn't make the air. Jesus jitsus are unbelievable. Great jiu-jitsu.
now I'm a jiu-jitsu master. I hear you on that one, Foxy. So let's look at the bench unit. Emmanuel Quickley, he's got that field goal percentage up over 40%. Hopefully he can get it a little bit higher, but he will live with the 44%, especially seeing what he's shot over his first few years in the league. 3-point percentage is at 35.3% from three. The free throw percentage a little bit low at 82.1, but it's above the 80% threshold, so we'll live with it. Josh Hart, 10 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game. Again, one of the best rebounders in the league for a guard. He's shooting 51.5% from the field, which is phenomenal. 3-point percentage is at 34.4%. That's shooting up with the way he's been shooting. What was it, at 32% when he got here?
Exactly.
And now he's already got it up to 34.4. Obi Toppin, the field goal percentage, you want to see that higher, especially from a big man. But the way we're using him, we're not getting him rolling to the rim like we should. He's just operating out there on the perimeter. So that's why you're seeing the field goal percentage look so shaky. I think, if we were able to utilize him a little bit better, that field goal percentage would be much better. The 3-point percentage, 34.4% from three. For the season, you might be okay with it, but with the way he started, he's starting to trend in the wrong direction. I think recently he's been able to knock down the three, but for the most part, if he can stay right around that 36-37% mark from three, especially with the way we've been using him, he'll definitely be a weapon. And you look at Hart, 6.7 rebounds per game, 5.2 points per game, only 0.9 assists per game. We're really still not using him the way we should. And you hear there are some critiques with this team, so there are ways for this team to be even better. So I think that's what's got me thrilled, is the fact that we aren't even operating or firing on all cylinders right now. There are still avenues for this team to get better. And Hart, the way we utilize him is definitely one of those ways. The 3-point percentage is at 23.5, not shooting the three the way we would have thought, the way he was advertised as a stretch big, but he's been able to affect the game in other avenues. At least he's knocking down his free throws as if he was a stretch big, shooting 75.5% from the charity stripe, and he's shooting 52.3% from the field.
Yeah. Hey, I'm liking the chemistry I'm seeing between Josh Hart and Hart.
Yep.
On the pick and roll, he's doing some really, really nice, whether pocket passes, little bounce passes. But like you said, Josh is only here 5 games. I'm hoping both Josh and also, God forbid, they ever put Isaiah Hartenstein in the pinch post. We know this guy can pass. Put him in there and hit cutters, man. Let Obi cut to the basket, like he's just said, or let Josh Hart hit Obi cutting to the basket. So we know he's a dynamite guy in transition with all those dunks. But when you have that leaping ability, 40% from field goal percentage, that has to be much higher, man.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what we got going on in chat. Jessica says 65% from the free throw line for Giannis this season. That's not knocked down. Yeah, Giannis does struggle from the free throw line. Alexa Sawyer, salute, says heart to heart. Yeah, we got the heart attack, heart squared, however you want to call it. Knicks 100 a game says kind of disappointed. McBride was just getting the rhythm to his game. Now he's back on the bench. That is true. He was finally starting to figure out his shot. And then we made the acquisition for Josh Hart. And it's unfortunate, yes. But if you look at this team and what our aspirations are long term, I think Josh Hart is a better fit long term. especially with that second unit, with the size he can give us, his ability to rebound, and his ability to defend just as good as a guy like Deuce McBride. So it is unfortunate that Deuce hasn't been able to continue to get any minutes. But I think long term, this does make this team better with the Josh Hart acquisition. So sometimes you got to, live with some of the things that you don't like, as long as it does, make the team better overall.
Yeah, can't do anything about it. He's a good kid, and Tibbs absolutely adores him. So if there's a chance he can play him, Tibbs would.
And he's a good sport about it too, because the first game, Deuce was the one out there pointing and helping him, be in the right spots defensively. So you love to see that as well. He's not taking it to heart, no pun intended, and he's still helping out.
Yeah, and also, and it's not meant in a derogatory fashion at all, but Theo Pinson, was that rah-rah guy. Deuce, he's not playing, but he's the first guy up, clapping his hands, getting the team going.
Yep.
So he's not showing anything but a positive attitude. That's a winner for me, man.
I mean, the interesting thing, though, is what we decide to do with his contract, because I think he's on a team option for next year, right?
He is. So it will be interesting.
Especially if we need some salary cap to do some things or make some moves. So we're on a club option. So if we do keep him, he'd be 1.8 million against the cap. But I mean, that's not a lot of money. It all depends on what this team decides to do. If we decide to go crazy and make a big splash, he could be included in the deal, as just some trade fodder, help make the money match. Or I don't think we just outright not pick up the club option, because I think Deuce is a contributor on an NBA squad.
No doubt. Great defensively. I mean, seriously.
If
he was 6'4", we wouldn't be having these conversations.
Yep. Stanley Mann says, I suspect there will be a big trade over the summer, which will open up a rotation spot for McBride.
On another team.
Yeah, on another team, because he'd probably be included in that trade, unfortunately.
Shout out, Stanley. Hope all is well with you and the family.
Facts. Thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support. One of the long-time subscribers here on the channel. All right, so let's look how the team has been ranking. Well, how the team ranks. Points per game, we're 14th in the league at 114.8. Still third in the league in rebounds. It's good that we were able to maintain that position with Mitchell Robinson out. So hopefully with Mitch coming back, we can start to skyrocket up that leaderboard a little bit higher. Assists, still, not moving the ball as much as we would like. We're still 30th in the league in assists, which is us trending down at 22.4 assists per game. Field goal percentage, we're at 46.2%, which is 24th in the league. 3-point percentage, we're at 34.7, which is 23rd in the league. And then free throw percentage, we're at 77.2%, which puts us at 22nd in the league. So the free throw percentage, at least that's trending in the right direction.
Facts. Absolutely. Those assists, and it's being impacted by guys that are hard. When Randle's on, he's going ISO, and Jalen's on, he's going ISO. And the result is the assist, but we're getting the wins, man.
Yep. Look at the advanced analytics. You got offensive rating, we're at 116.8, which is 6th best in the league. Defensive rating, we're at 114.2, which is 15th in the league. So think about that. This team, we're 26-1 when we hold teams under 110 points. So we still have a lot of room to improve defensively. So that's why I'm saying this is why I'm so excited about this team, because if we can start getting better defensively, we've got Josh Hart. We've only seen him for 5 games. So imagine, how we'll look after having him for the 25 games that were, left after we made the trade. This team is still has not peaked yet. I think we're still, on an upward trajectory, so
with Mitch getting back.
So there's a lot of factors for this, for the fan base to be thrilled about. Honestly, you look at the net rating, we're 7th in the league at plus 2.6. Offensive effective field goal percentage, we gave you guys an explanation as to how that's calculated last week's stream. Right now we're 53%, which is 23rd in the league, trending up. A defensive effective field goal percentage, we're at 52.7, which is 3rd in the league, trending up. And then pace, we're at 28th. We're 28th in the league at 96.8. So we've got a lot of things when you look at the analytics that are trending upwards. So this team is still continuing to get better. And if we can continue to peak right around the playoffs, like I said earlier, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And last year with Dallas made the Western Conference Finals, and they were 30th in pace.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's with Luca and everything else. So, yeah. But like you said, we have all these advanced analytics. We keep it simple: 110 points or less.
Facts, right?
That's what we're
KIS.
focusing. Yeah, exactly, man. Let's just keep it simple, man. And 110 points or less, man. 110 points or bust.
Facts. And which is something we should be able to do pretty, I won't say easily, but it's something that should be well within our reach come playoff time when things start to clamp up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got going on. Let's hop into the chat, see what people are saying. Anybody want to give a shout out to, Foxy?
Dwayne Dennis, as always, man, we appreciate you stopping by. You know, he said Cavaliers were up by 20 on the Raptors, 91-71. D. Mitchell is 35 points. Cool. JJ said Jalen Brown is out tomorrow.
Good.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it, man.
Yeah, you know, of course I like to fight. I like to go up against teams that are fully healthy, but we playing for seed and it's whatever, man. Let's see if we can get that fourth seed, and if Jalen Brown is out and we got to go through a depleted Celtics team, it is what it is. They're still going to be a tough team to beat regardless. They got Jason Tatum, you know, they've got, you know, Smart, they've got, you know, other guys out there that can contribute and play solid basketball. We mentioned, you know, Brogdon. He's been going off as the 6th player of the year. So they're still going to be a tough team, even without Jalen Brown. So let's go out there and see if we can get this W.
Yep. Stanley Mann said Celtics are playing great basketball. Bench is very deep with Hauser, Brogdon, and Payton. And don't forget the legendary Luke Cornett.
Yeah. All right. So, Foxy, this is the part of the show where you give us your analysis on a potential draft target in this upcoming draft. We still have the Mavs pick in 2023. I'm hoping they don't trade it away, because if they do, I don't know who I'm going to go to Summer League this season and watch. So hopefully it'll be this guy.
Daquan Jeffries, Trevor Keels.
It's going to be a G League team. I don't know if I'm going to fly to Vegas for that. I'll just wait till they're up in Westchester.
Now you're talking.
Yeah,
so yeah, folks, we've been going over. We've talked Taylor Hendricks. We've talked Maxwell Lewis. You know, we've talked a lot of different players. We talked Trevon Brazil. This week we're talking Gregory G.G. Jackson II. He will be the youngest player in the draft. I didn't know whether or not I'd be showing the G.G., but I said, hey, we're picking if he falls. A lot of people, he's so young that he doesn't see the floor well. But you see flashes from this kid where you're like, you see the player comparison, Pascal Siakam, that, you know, 40-inch vertical, he's athletic, unbelievable handle, that he's so young that he has so much to go. So for part of me is like saying, any kid that needs development like that, Tibbs is the wrong coach. He's the wrong coach. The other guys I talked about in the last few weeks, Rayon Robert, etc., I called them stash picks. So if GG falls that way, to his defense, he's playing on a terrible South Carolina team. So his shot selection, you could see that 37.9. His shot selection is really terrible. He doesn't know the game well, but he has these physical tools. So he absolutely is, when you're picking the 20s like that and you have a team as deep as the Knicks, sometimes you shoot for the fences. That he has some really special that in 2 years, 3 years, maybe he could be something special. But some guys at that same pick, would be a role player. GG, if he hits all cylinders, his midi game has a lot of Paolo in it. I've been watching him. His gorgeous mid-range shot, but his foul shooting and a few other things. But like I said, he's so young. He's technically should be in high school. That's how young he is. So he reclassified and stuff like that. But just for us to do due diligence, I've seen in the chat a couple of people bring up GG Jackson, so I wanted to bring him up. He's going, against elite competition in that conference. He just played Alabama. You see him against all the other teams. So if we were picking, in the 20s or something like the 18 to 20, and GG's there, that's somebody that the Knicks is saying, you know what? We have Randle for a few more years under contract. Let's just develop this kid. He's not going to be playing for a year on this team, but he has tools that you can't teach. I wish his wingspan was a little bigger at 6'10", but he has unbelievable handle, and he could potentially be a very good player, but he is a project. I just wanted to just say it versus some other guys. He's a project. He's so young.
Does he project as a plus defender?
It's hard, like I said, playing on a terrible team. You know, I saw him the other night. He had several blocks. He has the athleticism to be a plus defender, and also he has the athleticism to play the three, to play the four on defense, 2-3-4 guard. So he has the footwork and the athleticism to do that.
So how is his lateral quickness? He'd be able to stay in front of some of the smaller guys, because I think that's what really. I mean, even though he could be a project, if he's able to be out there as a defensive weapon and stay in front of some of the quicker guards out there in the league, that might be a role where Tibbs might be comfortable putting him in.
Yeah. Well, the guy last week, Rayon Rupert, is really much more up the alley of Tibbs. That's a lockdown defender. This kid has a lot to work on, but the key point on here is the 210 pounds. He's 17. I don't know if his body's going to fill out. If it fills out, he may not be able to have that lateral quickness, like you just said, Keith, to cover 3s and 2s, where he'll be a pure 4 or maybe a small ball 5, actually, if he could hit that 3. But it's all about his frame. If he's going to be able to keep that weight in the 210, 215 class, then that area that'll allow him to have the quickness. He hits 225, 230. Forget about him at the 3 or guarding 3s.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Foxy. I really do appreciate it. I can see the 3-point shot is something he's definitely going to have to work on at 32.7%, especially from the college 3. And the free throw shooting doesn't project well, too, as a shooter.
It doesn't. But he does some other things. So, again, just doing that due diligence that a lot of people brought up. What about G.G. Jackson? So, like I said, I was very hesitant to bring it up. I had a couple of guys, and I have a guy already for next week for us to talk about. But there's some in that range that I'm hoping actually go back to college next year because they need another year of seasoning. But, there's a really good shot we're going to trade out. With the depth.
Very good shot.
the depth.
Especially to get rid of Fournier. We might attach that pick to ship him out of there.
You're not kidding. So, and you know what? That'd be a prudent move.
Yeah, how do you feel about this draft in total?
It's really... Well, it's a weird draft. You put out a great video this week. Unfortunately, Brandon Miller got caught up in everything. But even with that, I think he'll be probably the number 3 pick or the number 4 pick. Nick Smith just came back for Arkansas, and he's balling, man. So I think, because he's 6'9", Brandon Miller, and also after everything, he came back and had a monster game. So a lot of guys wouldn't have the toughness to come back from everyone saying, hey, did you give that gun for that guy that got murdered? And they'd be all frazzled. He was a dog, man, Brandon Miller. So I definitely see still Wemby 1, Scoot 2, probably Brandon 3, Nick Smith 4. But to get back to the drop-off is huge. So last year's draft is so much better than this year's draft. Folks, Thompson twins can't shoot for shit. And I said that they're playing overtime. If they don't win for the City Reapers in overtime, it's high school players. Swear to God, it's so hard doing analysis on the Thompson twins. The goodies, they can't shoot, so that's easy analysis. But the other parts of their game, if they don't win the championship, it's going to say a whole lot that they couldn't dominate high school players. So the Thompson twins are eye candy because of their first step and their jumping ability. But I don't know what the hell they're going to do in the NBA if they can't shoot. A couple of
with Green, him being inconsistent with his jump shot.
Yeah,
and Porter as well.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the guys also his attitude. Some of the rumors behind the scenes is both Green and guys like LaMelo Ball. They're absolute nightmares. Some of the kids that are coming on are really gifted. Some of them, like you said, Green, are gifted athletically, but they're terrible teammates, man. They're all about me getting their points. They're stat crazy. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. But, you have some safe picks. Cason Wallace out of Kentucky is a very safe pick. He's going to be a dynamite defender. He's hitting his 3. I wish he had more athleticism, but he's going to be probably the second a point guard after Scoot off the board. So we'll go in for some others. But some of the guys, you only have a couple of really good shooters, and the rest of them, you hope they're going to be a good shooting. So this draft was really overhyped.
So right now we're picking 18th, right? If everything were to and today we'd have the 18th overall selection. Where do you see Gigi getting drafted? What range?
He is the hardest. I think he's going to go either 15 to 20 in that range. I think, like I said, I think some teams will say we'll take the flyer on him. We have the time for him to develop. I don't see quality teams taking him, or teams that have a chance in playoffs. He just won't get the time. And like I said, he's really young. I hate to use the IQ thing, but he makes, you see that 37%, a lot of it is shot selection. You're like, what the hell are you thinking, kid? You see the turnovers, he has like 0.8 to 2.6 turnovers. He doesn't see the floor. He's he doesn't see the game. So I think some people may say, hey, let's see if he develops at that range, because we went over the statistics, folks. The chance at 15 or 18 where we're picking, it's a 98% chance that they'll never be an all-star. They're just going to be a role player, hopefully a good role player. And we'll see with this kid. But I think we're definitely going to trade out.
I think we'll trade out as well, especially with a guy like Tibbs. You see, I mentioned a lot of our core is locked up for next season. So even if we do make a draft pick, that's probably going to be someone we stash, whether it be, seeing some extended play in the G League like Deuce and Sims, a couple years ago or a year ago. So you would see a similar scenario with Gigi.
I would, but I don't know how Gigi would react well. That's why when I brought up Trevon Brazil and the analogy of him like OG Anunoby, who was a top 5 pick, got the ACL injury, dropped to 23rd, and that's where the Raptors picked him up. Why Trevon with a 42.5-inch vertical shot blocker, has a beautiful stroke from 3, that he'd be a safer stash pick. Sometimes kids like that won't react well. They want to get on the court, and then they're going to be an attitude. And I just don't know, attitude-wise, culture-wise, if he's going to jive with with Tibbs and or a team that is playoff bound and has vets on it. I don't think Josh Hart would play well. Josh Hart would have a serious talk with that young man. And so would Randle. He's bigger.
Right, Josh is going to be like, yeah, what he said.
Yeah. I see Join Dennis says, Foxy, please don't say that. Unless they're trading picks to get a formidable 3-and-D dog that is a force on both sides of the court. Dwayne, there is no formidable. The problem is guys are 3, but we don't know about the D. So even Brandon Miller will be a 3rd or 4th pick. Maxwell Lewis is no D. So he is a 3. So there's really no 6'8", 3-and-D. Jet Howard doesn't play D, can't play D. He has lousy feet, can't make his own shot, but he's a good, great, catch and shoot guy. But he has an attitude. I wouldn't touch Jet Howard either. And that's a coach's son.
All right. If you have any draft prospect that you want us to discuss and feature in the show, just let us know in the comment section. If you're part of the replay squad, let us know in the comments as well, and we'll make sure to review and bring them forward and let you guys know how we feel about them.
See, Dirty Dancy, Colby Jones has D, but he avoids the tough assignments. I don't know that Colby Jones of Xavier, he's very Grimes-like. I could see him Memphis. He's a winning type of player, Colby Jones. So I think he'll go late first round, but coaches love that. Jalen Hood Schifino out of Indiana. Great patience. His shot's going to really define where he goes, Dirty Dancer.
Yep. So, Foxy, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you're tuned in and you want to get into some gambling, just make sure you check out the betus.com. The link to that is down in the description. They're sponsoring this live stream. They got a pretty good deal going on. If you deposit $200, you get $450 in order to gamble with. So thank you guys for tuning in. We really do appreciate all the support. We've been over 200 viewers for the majority of the live stream. We really do appreciate it. We try to go above and beyond the call of duty to bring you guys a fantastic show, and it really means a lot when you guys show up and help support the live stream. So thank you all. We really do appreciate it. This has been a earlier, it was an up and down season, but now it's been kind of phenomenal for the most part. So thank you guys for helping to make it that much better. So Foxy, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Couldn't say any better than you. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for getting us over that 100 likes. As we said, it doesn't cost you a thing. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. We appreciate it so much. We're a blink under 6.5 K subscribers. So help us get to that. 50 more subscribers up to that 6.5, and then 7,000. Here we come. But thank you. Thank you so much for all your support. And like he says, we love working hard behind the scenes to give you some, innovative, thought-provoking content. And we promise that we continue to work our ass off to do that for you every Sunday. Where's the place to be?
Sports Vibes TV. You already know. Thank you guys for that. We really do appreciate everything. Once again, I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and we're out.
Love you.